Welcome all to the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce's All Candidates Forum for the 2025 federal election. As Cindy said, my name is Stephen Mogden, and I have the privilege of moderating tonight's debate. I have the fairly rare distinction of being a past president of the Chamber of Commerce, and one of the perks of that is being given the opportunity to participate in events like this, which are so important to the future of our community. This event is made possible by a group of wonderful employees and volunteers from the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce, including the Chamber's amazing CEO that you just heard from, Cindy Crane. And she's going to be our backup moderator tonight, as well as our timekeeper. Hopefully nothing happens to the primary moderator. The Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce has traditionally hosted candidates forums for all levels of elections, not only federal, but provincial and municipal as well. It does so both as a public service to the electorate at large and as a service to its membership. The Chamber approaches a forum like this in a nonpartisan fashion. It endorses no candidates nor any political party, even though the Chamber has and will take positions that on policies that may be relevant to the campaign at hand. If the Chamber has taken a position on an issue that is supportive or critical of a campaign, of a party or an elected official, that is mere happenstance. The Chamber supports no party. It really hopes that you leave here tonight with a little bit more information than you had before about this campaign. We're very pleased tonight to be joined by 6 candidates to my right. Please allow me to introduce them to you now. I'd ask you to hold your applause, please, until I've introduced all of them. So we're going alphabetically by surname. Immediately to my right, we have Amber Murray, representing the Green Party of Canada. Then we have, to her right, Clara Pidalou with People's Party of Canada. Next to Clara is Mark Slingerland with the Christian Heritage Party. Next to Mark is Chris Spearman, the Liberal Party of Canada candidate. Next to Chris is Nathan Swoboda with the New Democratic Party of Canada. And last but not least, to Nathan's right, geographically as well as probably politically, Rachel Thomas with the Conservative Party of Canada, your incumbent MP. Thank you. Tonight, these candidates have an opportunity to introduce themselves to you and to make their case to you. They will face questions from our media panel, which I will introduce momentarily, but also from you. This is a terrific opportunity for you to judge how the candidates handle the important issues and answer difficult questions, which they will do without interference from their fellow candidates or from the audience. There will, however, be opportunity for true debate between the candidates, and that leads me to talk about our format for today. So we have some rules for our question and answer period. So first of all, we're going to have a round of questions from our assembled media. After that initial round of questions from the media, we're going to go to the audience for a question. And then from then until the end of the question period, which will be about an hour, we're going to alternate between questions from the media panel and from you, the audience members. Questions that you ask must be directed to a particular candidate. If you do not address it to a particular candidate, I will do that on your behalf. And that may not be the person that you wanted to have answer that question. Over there, the clock, yes, we are keeping track of time tonight. So each person that, there's a clock and a bell. Each person who asks a question has 30 seconds to ask that question. It doesn't matter how much backup you want to have, how much introductory material, you have 30 seconds to ask that question, and Cindy and I will be quite strident over that, shall we say. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question that gets asked of them. The candidates also have each 2 rebuttal cards. Maybe one of you hold that up. Yeah. Perfect. And so that allows that candidate to rebut an answer that they've heard from one of their fellow candidates. They'll have 1 minute for a rebuttal response. And you'll have to hand in your cards too, so nobody keeps them. And I have so many things to keep track of here. So audience questions may be either live questions from one of our 2 microphones right down here at the front, or written questions. And we have chamber volunteers who are going to run those questions from where you're sitting to our person in the back who's collating all those questions. And then they'll appear here on this screen for me to ask. If you have mobility issues and you want to ask a question live, please raise your hand and we will make sure that we can get a mic to you if we are doing a live audience question. So as moderator, I do reserve the right to prefer the microphone over written questions or vice versa. And also because the Chamber's focus is on business and especially on local business, those questions may be prioritized. All right, without question, politics and political campaigns stir people's passions. They root for, sometimes fight for the candidate that they support. And sometimes that leads them to say things or act in a way that they normally wouldn't. I am pleased to report to you all that in all of the election fora that I've been involved in, Cindy was talking about them, that has never been a problem. Here in Lethbridge, we are courteous, we are civil, and we treat people with respect. I strongly suspect that tonight will be no different, and this fine-looking audience will acquit itself as well as any. All right, in that spirit, I have no doubt that I will not be required to remind you to not denigrate any of the candidates or cause any negative outburst. If you wish to applaud an answer, please do so. But disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated. All right, we are going to go to our candidate opening remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes, and as I said, we're going to go alphabetical by surname. So probably doesn't happen very often where somebody whose surname starts with M goes first, but Amber Murray with Green Party of Canada, you have 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Hello. Good evening to you all, and thanks to the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum tonight. My name is Amber Murray, and I am your Green Party of Canada candidate. The three main concerns I have in a perfect world are: 1, stopping the current Grassy Mountain coal exploration application through another federal reserve of the project, or review. Thank you. 2, to initiate a nonpartisan federal working group to address the desire of Alberta to monetize the eastern slopes so that jobs and revenue may be possible without damaging water, land, and the existing agricultural-based economy. 3, initiate 2 debates. 1 on the advantages of proportional representation for the West through electoral reform, and 2, a long overdue national referendum on the use of Section 33 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the notwithstanding clause. Unfortunately, this is not a perfect world. Recession is looming for people who haven't gotten back on their feet after experiencing a global pandemic, but even worse, there is a genuine threat of global conflict due to the US-initiated trade war, and we need to prepare. In addition to responses I have submitted to the Chamber, the Green Party has also costed a plan to build a civil defense corps and expand Canada's reserve forces. This would increase resiliency of communities close to the border and help make Canada prepared for any emergency. Lethbridge is uniquely suited to pilot this expansion plan with our firearm ranges, our arms training grounds, and existing reserve unit. It would be beneficial for our youth to have an opportunity to practically assist in national security and emergency preparedness and provide good jobs in the area. I would certainly assist this initiative for Lethbridge, and I look forward to the coming discussion.
All right. Thank you very much, Amber Murray with the Green Party of Canada. That takes us to Clara Peterloo with the People's Party of Canada. You have 2 minutes, Clara.
Great, thank you very much, Stephen. It's an honor to be here, and it's wonderful to see so many people honoring the democratic process. Thank you, voters, for showing up. My name is Clara Peterloo, and I am with the People's Party of Canada. I believe, and as well as the People's Party of Canada, in individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. I am a business owner and a mother, and these principles have guided not only my parenthood, but as well as my business ownership principles. I believe that these are the principles government needs to lead and govern the people, not rule over business owners with unnecessary government overreach that has prevented so many of us from being able to flourish and innovate. As a business broker serving this community for the last 10 years, I have seen firsthand the impact that government overreach has had on our business communities. Everyone is struggling to get by because of government red tape, regulations, and down our throats with what we can and can't do. My belief is that free markets are what need to be opened up across our country as well as internationally. Trade is a wonderful way for businesses to be able to serve their communities, to expand and to provide their products to people who need them around the globe. I also believe in small government. The government is so top heavy right now, I'm surprised they haven't fallen over yet. I also believe that we should have stronger communities, and the way to do that is to be able to voice our opinions, to make decisions for ourselves, and to be able to do what's right for us, our communities, our families, and our businesses without the government micromanaging us and dictating our every move. And that's why I decided to run today, this year, with the People's Party of Canada, because I'm tired of being told what to do. I'm tired of seeing businesses around me close their doors while large corporations receive subsidies. I'm tired of, thank you, I'm tired of hearing the bell ring. I welcome the opportunity to represent you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Clara Peterloo, People's Party of Canada. That takes us to Mark Slingerland with the Christian Heritage Party. Mark, 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. There was a time when saying, "I am Canadian," was a source of pride, an identification with one of the freest, most prosperous, diverse, and generous-spirited nations on the planet. It's incredibly sad that the feelings aroused by that same statement today are so different. "I am Canadian" now brings to mind a country whose government excels at progressive virtue signaling, but fails at the basic duties of governance. A country whose debt has doubled in the last decade, so that we need to steal from future generations to cover $125 million a day in interest payments. A country where entrepreneurship and business vision are stymied by endless red tape. A country whose justice system can't seem to keep repeat offenders behind bars, but has criminalized, with the unanimous support of all the opposition parties as well, caregivers and counselors who would try to provide body-affirming counseling to youth suffering from gender dysphoria. A country that has become a cautionary tale on the international scene, where 1 in 20 deaths are now from euthanasia. Even our veterans are offered assistance in dying instead of real medical care. Even the UN is warning us that the rights of the disabled are threatened by our euthanasia regime, and we're on track to have mental health conditions turned into a death sentence too. Perhaps it's no wonder that a country where the value of human life isn't recognized is also not able to capitalize on human potential. Our increasing debt and declining productivity have given us the weakest GDP growth in the OECD and left us woefully unprepared for economic shocks like the tariffs we're now facing. Despite all this, Canada is still a country capable of greatness. It's exactly because I am a proud Canadian that I'm motivated to join this election, to put forward better solutions for Canada and for Lethbridge. I look forward to sharing some of these solutions with you tonight, principled solutions to restore our pride in the statement, "I am Canadian."
Thank you very much, Mark Slingerland with the Christian Heritage Party. Somebody should do a commercial that uses that. All right, we will go to the Liberal Party of Canada. Candidate is Chris Spearman. Chris, 2 minutes for your opening remarks, please.
Thank you. Okay. I'm Chris Spearman, and I'm running to be your next Member of Parliament because I believe Lethbridge deserves leadership that delivers. I'm not a career politician. I'm a public servant, and I have the record to prove it. As a school board trustee, I helped obtain government funding for 5 major school renovations and 5 brand new schools. As your mayor, I helped bring over $1 billion in investment to our city, including the Cavendish Farms $450 million expansion, a major economic driver for southern Alberta. I secured federal funding for upgrades to the Lethbridge Airport, the Nikiyuko Japanese Garden Bunka Center, the Yates Center, the downtown park and ride, and the infrastructure in our industrial parks, laying the groundwork for jobs and future growth. And I was proud to recommend the $250 million science and academic building at the University of Lethbridge as our city's top priority, an investment in youth and culture. Both phases of the Leisure Centre were built at a total cost of $240 million. While others talked, I kept taxes low. In 2019, it was the lowest overall tax increase in 20 years, followed by 3 years of 0% tax increases. And through it all, I led with integrity and inclusion, serving on the Reconciliation Advisory Committee, raising the Blackfoot flag at City Hall, and making the word Okie the official greeting for the City of Lethbridge. This election isn't about partisanship, it's about who will fight for Lethbridge. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Chris Spearman, on behalf of the Liberal Party of Canada. That takes us to our candidate representing the New Democratic Party of Canada. That's Nathan Swoboda. Nathan, 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Okay, my name's Nathan Swoboda. I'm your federal NDP candidate for Lethbridge. I feel Lethbridge, especially over the past decade that I've lived here, has been craving to feel seen and heard, especially in Ottawa, and that we haven't received that. I feel Lethbridge deserves a candidate who's deeply rooted in this community, who's willing to walk every street of this community. I've lived here for almost a decade. I've rooted myself here by going to school, raising my 2 kids. I've been a paramedic in Picture Butte, Coaldale, and Lethbridge. I've served with Recovery Alberta with our addictions population for the past 5 years. I've walked with Sage Clan. I've served with Streets Alive and the Lethbridge Soup Kitchen. I've developed community youth programs in Coaldale, and I've always been a community advocate. I've committed to being the change that we desire to see in our community, which is why I'm honored that the NDP has given me this opportunity to advocate for my community in this way. We know what we want, we know what we need from our representation, and I'm willing to fight for that.
All right. Thank you very much, Nathan Swoboda, on behalf of the New Democratic Party of Canada. That takes us, last but not least, to our final candidate, Rachel Thomas, with the Conservative Party of Canada. Rachel, 2 minutes for your opening remarks, please.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Thomas, and I have had the pleasure of serving as the Member of Parliament here for 3 terms, and I want to thank you for that honor. And it would be, of course, a tremendous honor to once again have that opportunity should you choose to place your trust in me. People elect Conservatives because they expect us to develop policy that will grow the economy and create jobs. They expect us to budget within our means and to cut taxes so that people can make their ends meet. They expect us to stand up for victims, to care for families, to advocate for seniors, to support veterans, and to deliver services with excellence. They expect us to do all of this while being mindful of the cost and size of government. People elect Conservatives because they expect us to be principled, hardworking, and compassionate, true public servants. And why do they expect this of us? Because that's what it means to put Canada first. I am committed to serving this region with all my heart and have done so for 9 years. I hold a relentless belief in the Canadian people and the tremendous potential that is within. I believe in restoring the promise of this country and that through hard work and perseverance, anything is possible. With the right policies, we can unlock new opportunities, fuel economic prosperity, and give every Canadian a fair shot at a good life. To this end, a Conservative government will axe the taxes that make life currently unaffordable. We will build homes that families need. We will cut government waste and reckless spending. We will lock up violent criminals and restore law and order. We will secure our borders and protect our nation's sovereignty. And we will unleash our natural resources to create good jobs, energy independence, and national strength. Because this is what it looks like to put Canada first. Tonight, I look forward to having the opportunity to outlining further what it looks like to put Canadians at the forefront. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you very much, Rachel Thomas, on behalf of the Conservative Party of Canada. With that, we're going to commence with our question period. Just before I go a little bit further, I'm just going to remind you, if you have a written question, please, put it down and then wave your written question, and we'll have a volunteer come pick that up from you. All right. Assisting us tonight is our panel of local media personalities right here to my left. We're always so grateful to have their insight, experience, and professionalism to help us out, and I'm honored to introduce them to you now. Again, hold your applause until we go through all of them. First, to my left here is Al Bieber with the Lethbridge Herald. To Al's left is David Opinko with Lethbridge News Now from Pattison Media. To his left is Cass Patterson with Vista Radio Ltd. and mylethbridgenow.com. And then finally, last but not least, Justin Sibbett with Global News. Let's give him a round of applause, please. All right, and I'm not sure who decided who's going first. Seniority, ladies first, coin flip. It's Al. Okay, Al Bieber.
Which mic? This mic. So, Rachel, this question is for you. In light of the tariff situation, I'm curious, what will the Conservative government do to reduce trade barriers among Canadian provinces?
Thank you, Al, for that question. Of course, the tariffs they're a big deal. It's top of mind for, I think, most people. When I go door knocking night after night, it is one of the top issues that is coming up at the doors. And of course, when people are asking about it, really what they're asking is, can you please provide us with some certainty that Canada has a vibrant future, that I have a job tomorrow, that I can continue to afford the products that I'm buying at the grocery store or the car that I want to drive. That is ultimately what people are after. As Conservatives, the certainty that we would like to offer, it's multiple. There's multiple aspects to it, but one of them is taking down that trade barrier that currently exists between provinces. Right now, it is more difficult to move a good, a service, or a person from Alberta to BC or BC to Alberta than it is to move south to the United States of America. It shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't have a country where we have fortress walls between each province, but then an open border between our neighbors to the south, which, by the way, we're losing out on. Instead, we need to take those barriers down from province to province, and we're committed to that.
All right, thank you very much, Rachel. Quick reminder to the candidates, don't forget about your rebuttal cards. Don't save them until the very end. Use them wisely. All right, thank you very much, Al, for that question. We're now going to move to David Opinko with Lethbridge News Now for our next question.
Hi, I have a question for Chris Spearman. So the people of Lethbridge are understandably very concerned about crime, and we know that crime is disproportionately done by people who are suffering from things like poverty, mental health, addiction. How would you look to balance holding people accountable for their actions while supporting people who are struggling?
It is important to have supports, and what I found in the city of Lethbridge when I became mayor and we began developing crime issues, we had big city issues in a small city without the supports that were available. We did have policing. I asked the police service to try and develop more coverage, more feet on the ground, and they brought out innovative programs like the Watch. They also brought in I can't remember the name of the officers, but who weren't quite police officers, who were training police officers to get more people there. But basically, the federal government has to provide the supports. The provincial government has to provide also the funding to municipalities, reliable funding. So we have to have partnerships between all three orders of government in order to work successfully together. And the relationships are important. We need to make sure that we support the social services as well. It's not just, we can't just count on the police to be social service officers. We need to fund the supports for the people that need assistance as well.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. That'll take us to our third media panelist, Cass Patterson with Vista Radio Ltd. Cass, what's your question?
This one's for Amber Murray. If successful in stopping the coal mines on the eastern slopes, how do you propose the government support and help fill the jobs that will be lost?
Thanks, Cass. That's a great question. My plan, should I be able to go to Ottawa, is to build a focus group, nonpartisan, to come up with a plan to assist the province in growing an ecotourism on the eastern slopes. So when you think of the West Coast Trail, think of the Eastern Slopes Trail. Think of Canmore and what it looks like now. It was a coal town too. We have a whole bunch of opportunities in that area to bring in bike races, to bring in foot races. The money behind these things is enormous, and it would make Lethbridge a hub to all of those places, bringing in tourism. And so I think we can't make another national park out there because the land belongs to the province, but certainly the Federation could partner with the province and with the municipalities to bring in jobs and other types of opportunities that wouldn't hurt the water.
All right. Thank you very much, Amber Murray. That takes us to our last of the first round of media questions, I guess, and that is Justin Sibbett with Global News. Justin.
Hi, my question is for Chris. So we're going to go back to tariffs here, and Lethbridge is considered the 10th most at-risk city in Canada due to the tariffs. There's still a big unknown around this situation, but what is your plan to ensure that Lethbridge doesn't face that risk?
Thank you. I have led trade missions in the past to China and Japan. I don't know if I should admit China. That was in 2017, before the two Michaels. But I think it's important to have the industry coming forward and advocating and asking for help as well. Our agri-food industry here is almost a secret. And we're not getting the attention of governments. And the coal mining issue is a perfect example of how we'd go forward with a coal mine and just forget about the 40,000 people that are employed in the agri-food industry. But basically, I worked in the agri-food industry here in the city of Lethbridge. I understand by bringing in Cavendish, for example, when I was mayor, it generated tens of thousands of acres of additional crops. But we need to stand up for Richardson's. We need to advocate and work with them. They're affected directly by the tariffs from China. We need to make sure that we are speaking out for our agri-food industries, and I'd be prepared to do that.
All right. All right, thank you very much, Chris. So we've gone through one round of our media panel questions. At this point, I'd like to open it up to the audience. If you have a question that you want to ask, please come to one of the microphones. And quick reminder, if you have a written question, wave it around. We will collect it, we will process it, and it will come from me. Okay, this was the first person I think that got to the mic. So if you please, your question and who it's for, and remember 30 seconds to ask.
Yes, my name's Maria Fitzpatrick. I'm a senior, and my question is to Chris Spearman. Many people in several organizations that I'm in are worried about their CPP. I would like to know what you would do in Ottawa, if you're elected, to protect our CPP and not have it withdrawn and put into an Alberta pension plan.
Well, I may have a conflict of interest because I'm also a senior and I'm also receiving CPP. But I definitely don't want Danielle Smith managing my pension plan. But unfortunately, there's a constitutional provision that allows provinces to withdraw from the Canada Pension Plan. If you allow Premier Smith to do that, that's a big problem. And the federal government can't stop it. The province can withdraw. Interestingly, there was a survey conducted by the provincial government more than a year ago with taxpayer funds, and the results of that survey have not been released. So why is that? Probably because they're not favorable. But I would do everything I could to advocate for you as to make sure everybody is paying into the plan, your employers are matching your premiums, and you expect to get a CPP, not an Alberta pension plan.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris Spearman. That will take us back to our media panel for a question. And Al, you're back up.
This question is for Chris on the subject of coal mining. Is mining important to the Canadian economy, or is there a way of doing without it?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Is coal mining important at all to the Canadian economy, or are there ways we can do without it?
Okay, on a worldwide basis, we're talking about metallurgical coal. And the supply and demand for metallurgical coal varies. Sometimes they're predicting that there might be a shortage by 2030, okay? But what I look at it is, in terms of the economic development model, I worked in economic development through a series of organizations. I was a founding member of Economic Development Lethbridge. But every economic development proposal that came forward had a net benefit to the community. In other words, there were benefits. I've never seen anybody advocate for an economic development proposal like the one that's proposed for Grassy Mountain that could potentially damage other aspects of the economy and poison our water. So I don't see how the economic development model works for coal mining. The science reports show consistently every time there's a coal mine, there is pollution. And we're more at risk here than anywhere else due to our Chinook winds.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. We're going to go back to the audience for a question. I'm just going to make sure, Kevin, that am I getting written questions? Yeah, you know, you were printing something and then it's no longer there. So it could be me. That sounds like me, but okay. Then we'll go to the microphone and right down here to my left.
Thank you. I'm actually going to ask a question on behalf of my daughter, Danielle. This is my daughter, Danielle, and she's here with her service dog, Berlin. Berlin is trained and certified through a recognized agency in Alberta. Section 15 in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms makes it very clear that every Canadian is considered equal no matter their religion, race, sex, or disability. Yet only BC, Alberta, and Nova Scotia have laws in place to protect the rights of service dog users, rights that should be protected by Section 15 of the Charter. That means if she goes into Saskatchewan, she's not protected at all. Our question is, would you be willing to bring legislation by the federal government to protect the equality of those who are disabled and required service dogs to live a normal life? And this is for Rachel, please.
All right, Rachel Thomas.
Thank you very much for the question, and it's nice to have your daughter and Berlin here. I love this issue. I love this issue because it's so important for us to have the conversation around equal access for all people. And it's a debate that doesn't often transpire. And so you're absolutely correct. Under the Section 15, we should be acknowledging from province to province the need of an individual who has a certified service dog. Now, I think one of the problems that we have in our country right now is there's, unfortunately, all sorts of dogs that are being brought into all sorts of places under the name of service dog, but not actually certified. And that's where we actually do need regulation in place that is consistent across the country from province to province to make sure that people like your daughter are protected and contended for and have the ability to access the services that they need with Berlin in hand. And so yes, it would be my honor to work with you on bringing forward a private member's bill to that regard.
All right, thank you very much, Rachel Thomas. And Nathan Swoboda is breaking the seal on the rebuttal cards. So pass it down here, and in 30 seconds or less, no, sorry, 1 minute for your response.
Absolutely. All right, thank you very much. Yes, someone had to do it. Ultimately, healthcare is so important, and that goes across all spectrums, including disability of any form, right? And so when it comes to Section 15 of the Charter, protecting discrimination and protecting accessibility of those with disabilities. Changing that is a very long, difficult process. But I do know specifically through the Canada Health Act and through the Accessibility Canada Act that those are more direct ways that we can make those changes, and we can make them within the year. Right? Absolutely. This doesn't need to be a long, drawn-out issue, and things like that should and definitely need to be regulated across the country. Right? A service animal is a medical device that makes you able to participate and be part of society. And yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Nathan Svoboda. That takes us back to our media panel. David Opinko, your next question.
I have a question for Rachel Thomas. What is your stance on the development of new coal mines in the Eastern Slopes?
I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat that.
Yeah. Your stance on the development of new coal mines in the Eastern Slopes?
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate the issue because I think it's really important to the folks in this room and to many in this region, of course, because at the end of the day, there is a valid conversation around access to water, not only drinkable for people, but also, of course, for livestock, for our producers, and then, of course, for watering our crops and making sure that we're able to succeed in that area. At the end of the day, this is a provincial issue. And so absolutely, we should be advocating for the strictest policies possible in order to protect our water, in order to protect our livelihoods. But it is interesting to me that at this table, there is a claim that certain actions are going to be taken or that certain successes are going to be achieved, but there is total disregard for where this lies, and it is with the province.
All right. Thank you very much, Rachel Thomas, for that answer. I think, Amber, you had put your card forward. Yeah, so throw it over there. Sorry, Nathan. She was quicker on the draw than you.
Well, someone.
All right. Well, someone's going to respond. So in 1 minute or less, Amber Murray.
On April 3rd, the leader of the Progressive Conservatives, or just the Conservative Party of Canada, has promised to scrap the Impact Assessment Act. So projects that should have been examined for negative impacts on the environment, health, and Indigenous rights. And you're going to scrap it based on pressure by 14 CEOs of fossil fuel companies. So I don't think Mrs. Thomas will support us at the federal level for getting the water protected.
All right. Thank you very much, Amber. Nathan, you holding off for right now? Okay. Don't hold off too long, though, because I have a written question, and it is directed to Nathan Svoboda with the New Democratic Party. The question is, U.S. tariffs threaten to take trillions out of the Canadian economy. Oil prices have declined. There is a threat of another inflationary period. Why is your party best positioned to lead Canada during this time?
Absolutely. So New Democrats are in agreement with other parties where we do need to keep our elbows up. We need those retaliatory tariffs. And ultimately, our economy, our resources, and our labor are valuable, and we need to hold on to that value. What contrasts the NDP compared to the other parties is that not only are we looking out for businesses, not only are we looking out to hold our own in that way, but we very specifically are looking out for workers. And ways we're wanting to do that to support workers during this economic crisis that we're probably going to face over the next 4 years is that we want to increase EI payments. We want to remove the waiting period to receive EI. We want to do work share programs where if your hours are reduced because of these tariffs, that EI will be able to pick up on that. Right? These are the things that contrast New Democrats. It's not just looking out for industry, but looking out for and advocating for workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nathan Svoboda, and Clara Peterloo with the People's Party of Canada that wants to weigh in on this.
Great, thank you very much. The People's Party of Canada represents free market. The NDP does not care about people and jobs. As a matter of fact, the trade tariffs are going to end many jobs here in Lethbridge. Many people are going to be laid off. The People's Party of Canada would hit the negotiations table with Donald Trump and put supply management on the table. He has expressed that as being a primary concern for his country. And why would we instead retaliate with tariffs that end up just hurting our economy? Ultimately, in the end, this tariff war is a little bit of a pissing match. And it's just a matter of time before somebody finally says, you know what, we'll take away our tariffs if you take away yours. Let's support a free market economy by negotiating instead of retaliating. If, as a business owner, if you retaliate against your supplier probably won't want to supply to you. So it's about having radical personal responsibility to take responsibility and take affirmative action to do what's best for our country and what's best for our employees. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Clara Peterloo with the People's Party of Canada. I personally am very impressed that it took 39 minutes before we heard that name here tonight. Okay, we're going to go back to our media panel, and that's Cass Patterson. Cass, what's your next question?
This one's for Rachel. Albertans feel, or they say they feel like they are isolated from Ottawa and that Ottawa is not hearing what they need. If you were to be voted back in, how would you represent this community and be sure to help bridge that gap and that isolation?
Thank you, Kaz, for the question. I think it's a really important one. As Albertans, certainly, we want a voice at the table. We want to be heard. Here in Lethbridge, it's something that I hear over and over and over again, whether I'm knocking at doors or I'm meeting with people or I'm receiving emails or phone calls. As a representative of this community, I've always done my best to listen well and then take action. And so listening looks like hosting town hall meetings, which I do every spring and every fall. Every single household receives a flyer with an invitation to come to that. And it is genuinely open to the entire public to ask anything and everything that they wish to ask me. I put myself on the hot seat for 2.5 hours and I am happy to be there. In addition to that, I host a variety of roundtable discussions. I take one-on-one meetings, I respond to emails and phone calls, and I attend events throughout the community. In these ways, I do my best to make myself available to the voices that are here and then to go to bat for those individuals in Ottawa where I have the opportunity to represent in our nation's capital.
Great. Thank you very much, Rachel Thomas with Conservative Party of Canada. We're going to go back to audience questions, and I think I'm going to this mic right here. Sir, your question, please.
Hello, my name is Tony Hall. I was going to ask this question to Chris Spearman, but on reflection, I'll ask Rachel Thomas. The Online Harm Act. It's an outrageous piece of legislation calling for life imprisonment for what people say, or even what people might say. It's an indication of how spacey, out of touch the Liberal Party of Canada is. It's a disgusting piece of legislation, life imprisonment for something you say. Could you please tell me the position of the progressive, not the progressive, the used to be progressive but now Conservative Party on this outrageous legislation that Chris Spearman is representing, because he's representing 10 years of terrible government.
We did get the question.
In Ottawa.
Rachel Thomas.
May I ask a clarification?
Absolutely.
Okay, just a quick clarification. Are we talking about Bill C-63 brought forward by the Liberals?
Bill C-63.
Okay, thank you.
Online Harms Act.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I just didn't catch the name at the beginning.
Yeah.
Sure, so Bill C-63, online harms, essentially what it does is there's a clause within it that makes it punishable, or it makes it possible to punish a person based on a crime that they might commit. The actual language of the act, I will quote it directly, is may commit That is the wording of the legislation. And so if anyone has seen the movie Minority Report, it is exactly built around this idea that there would be surveillance done on an individual, that they would be watched closely in terms of the things that they say online or do online, their interactions with folks. And then based on those things, the powers that be, having monitored that, would be able to come to a decision and surmise whether or not this individual would commit a crime. And if they found it likely that that individual would commit a hate crime or a violent crime, then that individual could be arrested and actually imprisoned for up to life. If everyone in this room is not concerned by that, there's a problem. Because none of us is saved from that. No matter your political persuasion, you are not saved from that. And imagine what political parties can do with a law of that nature. I stand against it with everything in me.
Thank you, Rachel Thomas. We will go back to our media panel. Justin Sibbett with Global News. Your next question, please.
Thank you. I'm going to go right back to Rachel here. My question is, you've been in for 9.5 years. What specifically, beyond town halls and discussing issues with people here in Lethbridge, what have you actually brought to Ottawa?
Sure. In a democratic system, there's two parts. There's a government, which is responsible for making policy decisions and moving forward with laws or legislation. And then we believe in the power of an official opposition, which holds that government to account. And so I have had the privilege of sitting on the side of opposition during my duration as a member of parliament. And it is therefore my responsibility, based on an agreement with the Queen, now King, with the monarchy, that I am responsible for holding this government to account. Which means that I have to listen to my constituents and understand what their concerns are, and I have to make sure that those concerns are being adhered to or given attention to in Ottawa. And when they are not, I have a responsibility to speak out. And so that is speeches in the House of Commons, that is initiatives within committee meetings, that is bringing forward private members' bills, that is presenting reports to Parliament or petitions to Parliament. It's having meetings with stakeholders in order to advocate for what is best. It's meeting with ministers. It's having people come from the riding with me, and together we meet with ministers to advocate for various issues that are important. Those are the types of things that are my responsibility and that I take great pride in doing.
Thank you very much, Rachel Thomas. We're going to go back to the microphone, this microphone right here. Thank you.
Thank you. This question is for Chris Spearman. Given that the Indigenous people have rights to consultation, the environment and environmental assessments, as well as Canada's natural resources, which all fall under the purview of the federal government. Would you please clarify your stance on how you would advocate for this riding in regards to coal mining in the eastern slopes and the subsequent effects it would have on our water and thus everyone in this room, as well as the main industries in our area?
Thank you. Indigenous rights are well established. We saw the Blackfoot people. Sorry, the Kainai issue a letter just about 6 weeks ago stating that they had not been consulted and they felt that decisions were going ahead without them. And so I think that was a strong statement from them. I fully support them. The Old Man River is really revered in Indigenous culture. They give it the name Napi, the friend, the one that gives us life for thousands of years. I think we need to take a lesson from the Indigenous culture, and we need to adopt that ourselves and recognize what would happen if that river was no longer usable for our drinking water and for our farming and other requirements here. But the Indigenous people, their rights have to be respected, they have to be consulted, and we are relying on them as allies to make sure inappropriate environmental decisions are not made.
Thank you very much, Chris Spearman. Amber has played her second rebuttal card and final.
Thanks, Chris. I want to make sure that you're aware that Piikani and Stoney Nakoda are in favor of the coal mines. And I'm hoping that should you be selected as the MP, that you have a strategy for offering something to those particular nations.
Yeah, you can play a rebuttal to that for sure.
So my understanding is, with respect to the Piikani, they're only at this point have said they agree with the drilling, not the full mine extension. So there is division, as you know, within the Piikani community, but the Kainai have said we are not being consulted and we don't feel involved. But I think the jury's recognizing that that's a limited in favor by the Piikani, so understand that piece. It's not for the whole mine. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. That's going to take us back to our media panel. Al Beaver, your next question.
This question is, excuse me, this question is actually for Amber. Given climate change, the impact that vehicles have on the environment, I'm just wondering if elected with the Green Party, lift the pause on incentives for Canadians to buy electric vehicles.
Sorry, just clarification. You're lifting the tariffs from China specifically?
I'm talking about the federal government in which rebates were given to consumers for buying electric vehicles to stimulate their interest and spur sales.
Yeah, with the auto industry, it's going to be very difficult going forward with our EVs, trying to figure out a way to do this. I would prefer to go for the federal government to concentrate on a nationalized energy grid so that we have good power backup, because I know there's a lot of worry, particularly in the dark winter, where we might not have enough electricity to power these vehicles, and we certainly don't want to go to fossil fuels in order to power electric vehicles, right? So I would like to see a lot of building of a national energy grid in electricity, and I think we should start in a regional zone so that Alberta can share with BC's hydro, Alberta's wind and solar, and that we would be more secure and there would be good background for good basis for electricity and powering of those vehicles.
All right. Thank you very much, Amber Murray. That will take us to Mark Slingerland, is playing his first rebuttal card. Mark, 1 minute.
Thank you. This idea of government incentives is broader than just electric vehicles, of course, but ask yourself, why is there a government incentive to buy an electric vehicle? It's because the market left to itself will not make that choice. So now we're using your money as taxpayers to induce people to do something that's actually contrary to their interests and calling this green policy. Why do we not focus on actual pollutants, not CO2 alarmism, and get government out of the business of subsidies? There's a place for government in research, but if the market does not support a product, the government tilting the scale in favor of that product does not suddenly make it a good investment.
All right, thank you very much, Mark Slingerland, on behalf of the Christian Heritage Party. Okay, we're going to go to another audience question. It's going to be a written question. The question is directed to Chris Spearman. The question is, with 4.9 million visas expiring this year, what plan will be in place to fill the gap in the workforce?
Just couldn't quite clear. It's a little bit muffled with the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
So with 4.9 million visas expiring this year, what plan will be in place to fill the gap in the workforce?
That's a challenging issue. Decisions have been made recently, and they're difficult issues to manage, actually. We do need to be better at allowing people to come into the country. There needs to be a longer-term strategy. I understand there's a lot of concern about people being allowed in and then the support's being taken away suddenly. And then, again, these people, their visas being canceled and being returned, certainly creates a lot of uncertainty. And I think it damages our reputation as a country in terms of possibly attracting skilled people coming here in the future. So it's something that I want to correct if I'm elected. I want to work on that. It's a very much a concern if people think they're coming here and then their visas get canceled. So I think we have to have an expedited process to review that decision and make sure that we're making the right decision.
All right. Thanks very much, Chris. That's going to take us back to our media panel. David Opinko with Lethbridge News Now. What's your next question?
I have a question for Clara Peterloo. So tariffs will increase the cost for many goods, and that'll happen at a time when a lot of Canadians are already struggling financially. How would you work to ensure that people can afford their basic necessities and just deal with rising costs?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to this. The PPC Party, the People's Party of Canada, believes in a complete abolishment of the carbon tax. By abolishing the carbon tax from supply, from seed right through to consumer, through industry for consumers, the entire carbon tax, not just parts, the entire carbon tax will relieve the pocketbooks of Canadians to be able to hopefully absorb some of these tariffs that are going to impact our economy. There is no doubt they're already impacting. So by having a tax removed, I mean, does it solve the tariff issue? It does not. However, we have to have resiliency as a people, and we have to be accountable, and we need to set up interprovincial trade and make trade internationally much more simpler with less red tape, less regulation, so that businesses can make the decision where they can sell their products easiest, and let's make that easy as possible for them instead of standing in their way.
Great. Thank you very much, Clara. We'll go back to the audience for a question. We're going to go to the microphone, and I think I'm going to this microphone right here.
Hi, my name is Kathy Ressling, and my question is for Chris Spearman. I don't know how well Alberta has a memory here, but I guess it's about the crime. You were in the office of the mayor when the injection site was running, and we had the highest crime rate over any other province. So if you have a capability of running that or being affiliated with that, how are you going to manage being in a higher political position now?
Thank you for the question. There's a lot of misinformation about what happened. Okay, please let me answer the question in the time limit. Okay, it was federally approved. ARCHIS applied to Health Canada. Health Canada approved the supervised consumption site. Alberta Health Services funded it. We had had several years of growing drug problems. We had had people injecting under the bridge and on the railway tracks. We had complaints from CP Rail. Our ambulances were overrun with attending addiction overdoses. So people weren't getting ambulance service as quickly. So the supervised consumption site took place. There was no municipal decision. The only municipal decision would have been zoning, except that they took a 10-year lease in a building directly across the street from where the London Drugs used to be. It was already zoned appropriately. That's why that happened.
Thank you, Chris. That's the minute. Thank you very much. In part, we try to enforce these timelines so that we can get more questions in. And in that spirit, let's go back to our media panel. I believe it's Cass Patterson's turn to ask a question.
This one's for Nathan. While healthcare falls under the provincial purview, the need for healthcare workers, especially doctors, is extremely prevalent. If you were to be voted in as the MP for Lethbridge, how would your party and you try to work on making sure that is something that is addressed?
All right.
Yes, Lethbridge feels our healthcare very deeply, and especially being like a healthcare center for Southern Alberta, we don't want to be going to Calgary for everything, right? So if you're from Medicine Hat, Cardston, Milk River, you're coming to Lethbridge. If you need a non-contrast CT scan, you're coming to Lethbridge. And there are 800,000 Albertans that are going without a family doctor right now. And we know the changes that happened under the Smith and Kenney government drove doctors away from Lethbridge, that we lost our only walk-in clinic at Bigelow Fowler West. I only have 30 seconds, and I could talk for an hour. So what we need to do is we need to strengthen and give the teeth back that the Harper government took away from the Canada Health Act to enforce these minimum standards, right? I and the NDP are dedicated and committed to increasing up to 3,000 residency spaces that doctors coming up through the education system and from the United States have a place to do their residency and get their credentials. And this is something that'll fast track this from the 8-10 years to replace to now 4.
All right. Thank you very much, Nathan Svoboda with the New Democratic Party of Canada. Our next question is going to be an audience question. It is a written question, and it's directed to Rachel Thomas. The Conservative Party of Canada voted as a bloc against a number of cost-saving measures, including $10 a day childcare, federal pharmacare, and federal dental care. What do you propose to improve affordability for middle-class families?
Thank you for the question. To be clear, Conservatives, our leader has made it clear that we will respect the programs as they currently exist. It is worth highlighting, however, that the Liberal Food Program has not actually served a single meal, but has spent tens of millions of dollars. That's what you get when you continue to bloat the size of government taking over these sorts of programs instead of trusting provinces to deliver the services that are needed, or putting the trust in private enterprise to deliver the services that are needed, or partnering with non-for-profits to deliver the services that are needed. And so there's missed opportunity there. But to reduce the costs, to make life more affordable, let's start by scrapping the carbon tax off of everything for everyone forever. Because right now, what Mark Carney, the current Prime Minister of Canada, has promised to do, or said he has done, is only temporary. It is a 2-month hiatus from the carbon tax. And then he has said that he will bring back what he is calling, quote, a shadow carbon tax, end quote, and it will be bigger and better in his mind than the current one, which of course will be applied to industry and therefore
Thank you very much, Rachel.
In this room.
All right, we are back to our media panel. That takes us to Justin Sibbett with Global News. Justin.
Thank you. Again, I'm going to go back to Rachel. So just today, we learned that Lethbridge Polytechnic was laying off 53 additional employees on top of 19 that was announced earlier this year as a direct result of the cap on international students. What would you do to ensure that the Polytechnic and the university, of course, as well, has the required funding and capabilities to ensure that 72 employees here in Lethbridge aren't being laid off?
Justin, thank you for that question. Unfortunately, what this Liberal government did is they brought immigrants in at such a fast rate and in a reckless way that a couple of things happened. One, we didn't have the housing to support them. We didn't have the social programs to support them. We didn't have the language learning programs available to support them. And so people fell through the cracks. There are people who have come here as refugees looking for a future, looking for a better way of life, who are literally living on the streets and eating in soup kitchens. That's not kindness, that's not compassion, that's cruelty. And so for the government to mismanage immigration to that extent is an absolute, it's just so disappointing. It's so disappointing. In addition to that, when it comes to students, there were students that came from other countries and said that they were going to schools, but they were signed up through illegitimate programs in Ontario largely in a fraudulent manner. And the Liberal government turned a blind eye, even though they had been given warnings that this was going on. These types of things have to stop. We have to be responsible with our immigration. We have to bring folks in who are ready to contribute to our economy in the spaces that we need it most.
Thank you, Rachel Thomas, on behalf of the Conservative Party of Canada. We're going back to our microphone. I believe I'm going to this one.
Thank you. My name is Bruce. Before I ask the question, it'll be for Mark Slingerland. There's a Teddy Roosevelt quote. It says, it's not the critic who counts, it's the man in the arena who strives to do the deeds, who spends himself in a worthy cause. So appreciation for all 6 of you for stepping up to the plate. We appreciate that. In a largely conservative riding, there'll be 60,000 something conservative votes. Mark, you distinguish yourself from the conservative candidate. Can you explain to conservative-minded voters in the region why they should vote CHP? Thanks.
Well, sure. 2 reasons. I noticed that Rachel's wearing a really lovely shade of maroon, which is perhaps indicating she's ready to borrow some of our policies and not just our color. We would welcome that. I think the best thing that a conservative voter in this riding can do is vote for the CHP as an indication that they want real conservative principles. There are a lot of conservatives who are very much on the red end of the spectrum and don't necessarily see eye to eye with most of us in this room. And so every vote for the CHP is a vote that Rachel can use to say real conservatism matters. Toronto conservatism doesn't cut it, and I need to speak up for the voters in my riding, for small government. You mentioned that before. I'm glad, and I hope you'll fight for that. Last time we had a conservative government in power, the size of government and the number of public servants grew every year. So we need real conservative government.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark Slingerland, on behalf of Christian Heritage Party. That'll take us back to our media panel. Al Bieber, Lethbridge Herald, another question for one of the candidates.
This question is for Nathan. We hear locally, provincially, and nationally how much housing we need, how much affordable housing we need, how much supportive housing we need, housing for vulnerable. Yet there are obstructions to doing that because of the red tape that it takes to get construction going. What would the NDP do to reduce the red tape that can get these houses started?
Absolutely. So Lethbridge has been a bit of a renter's paradise, especially when I first moved here almost a decade ago. And since then, that has almost disappeared. People are not feeling that benefit anymore, and our vacancy rate is lower than ever, which is not a healthy thing for an economy. The NDP have committed to opening up public land in order to build these housing. And in contrast to the other parties, not just building these multi-million-dollar houses that are good for investors, but building actual accessible housing for people, right? Multifamily dwellings. And that's what we need in Jasper. That's what we need in Lethbridge. With our growing population, and if we want our economy and our riding to be attractive to people, we need to be that renter's dreamland again.
All right. Thank you very much, Nathan. We're going to go back to an audience question. It is a written question. It is for the CPC, and it's about the CBC. So Rachel, how do you balance your leader's stance of defunding the CBC with the view of the majority of Canadians who oppose that possibility as it leaves Canadian news in the hands of corporately or foreign-owned media?
Thank you. Let me just correct something for the record here. 8% of Canadians watch the CBC. No. You can boo the stats all you want. They are what they are. 8% of Canadians watch the CBC. Viewership is down year over year. The money that Canadians are having to pump into it, however, is up year over year. Trust with regards to the CBC and their news reporting is down year over year. And in addition to that, we have over 70% of Canadians have said that actually they don't mind if it goes. Because again...
All right, let her answer the question.
Now that said, we do know that folks in the North do rely largely on radio. And so as a party, we're committed to protecting that in order to make sure that those folks in those remote areas have access to news, because we recognize that that's very important.
All right. Thank you very much, Rachel Thomas, on behalf of the Conservative Party. That will take us back to our media panel. And David Opinko, your next question.
I have a question for Amber Murray. Just looking back at my own reports on housing prices, 2019 to today, the average cost to buy a house in Lethbridge has gone up by about $116,000, and the average cost to rent just a one-bedroom apartment is up almost $500 a month. What would you do to ensure housing becomes more affordable here in Lethbridge?
Thank you for that question. I believe, as does the Green Party of Canada, that it is the investment in housing, the corporate investment in housing, that is driving the increase in costs. So the Green Party believes in covenants to make sure that housing built with public money stays affordable. They also believe in closing loopholes so that criminals can't use real estate as a way to wash their money. And they believe that there should be legislation to stop corporations investing in residential real estate, because we can't build public housing fast enough. It'll be about 10 years, even if they start investing right away. We have to legislate that corporate investment in residential real estate has to stop.
Thank you very much, Amber Murray. Mark Slingerland has played his second rebuttal card. Mark, you're 1 minute.
Looking at the time, I better use my second one. Corporate investment is a bugbear. One of the major problems for housing prices going up is over-regulation. As in so many areas of our economy, there are so many restrictions on who can build what where that, of course, it's the actual building that happens is going to go where the money is. So we need to reduce red tape dramatically. The federal government doesn't have all of the levers here. Other levels of government have to come on board. But the other side is the availability of funding and innovative policy of the CHP that's actually tried and tested right here in Canada for infrastructure funding generally, housing, but also pipelines and airports and all kinds of infrastructure. The Bank of Canada used to be a source of funding for those. The Trans-Canada Highway was spent with loans from the Bank of Canada. Now we instead borrow from international bankers, so we have to pay their interest rates. And if we use the Bank of Canada to provide low or interest-free loans to municipalities, to First Nations, to nonprofits, we could see a housing boom and an infrastructure boom in Canada that has not been seen for decades.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark Slingerland, on behalf of the Christian Heritage Party. We have about 10 minutes left, so we certainly can get through some more questions. By my count, I see 4 remaining rebuttal cards. They're not worth anything after, so don't save them. We're not buying them back. Just keep that in mind. We're going to go back to the microphone. I think I'm going to this microphone right here.
Hello. Born and raised in Lethbridge. So this question is for Rachel Thomas. So while the proposal by Pierre Poilievre to eliminate the GST for home buyers for up to $1.3 million homes may seem beneficial, many low-income individuals and families in Lethbridge or in the rest of Canada are not in the market for a new home. What specific plans do you have to address the urgent need for affordable low-income housing in our community beyond the GST exemption?
Thank you. So this is a really great question because, of course, we've seen rental rates go up by 20% in just 1 year. And so we see as housing becomes less and less affordable. We've seen a similar equation, though not quite that dramatic, with regards to our purchasing market as well. And so more and more people are getting priced out of a home, not only in big places like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, but now in little places like Lethbridge, where traditionally life has been very affordable. I think there's a few things that we can do. We have to remember that housing prices are related related to various elements, one of them including inflation and the way that government manages itself. And so we need to manage the budget. We need to balance it. We need to make sure that life in Canada is not inflating at such a rate that we're not able to keep up with it. And currently that is the case. Your paycheck is not keeping up with inflation. Therefore, your purchasing power is decreasing year over year over year. A Conservative government is committed to making sure that actually that inflationary rate comes down and therefore your purchasing power stays strong. That's going to be one thing that helps you purchase a home. There's more, but.
Thank you very much, Rachel Thomas. That'll take us back to our media panel. I believe we're at Cass Patterson. Cass, your next question.
This one's for Chris Spearman. The Liberals back a few months ago put in the GST holiday, which for a lot of small businesses meant that they had to make tough decisions as to whether they were going to give their employees hours or if they were going to spend those hours themselves having to go back into their own inventory to take off the GST on certain items. How would you, if you represented this riding, support those small mom and pop businesses that are in Lethbridge, that are a big backbone of the business community, to make sure that they aren't going to have to pay the cost next time?
Okay. So the question is related to removal of the GST.
The question is in relation to decisions that impact those small mom and pop businesses and how it will cost them in the future.
Okay. I'm not completely familiar with the issue, to be absolutely honest, but certainly what I would try to do is ensure that I'm open. I've always been accessible to the community, and I would, if there are specific concerns that should be going to Ottawa, I would be taking them to Ottawa. I don't think we should be penalizing small businesses. They are the core employers, and certainly we want to make sure that small businesses remain healthy in our community.
Okay, my eye caught Clara first, so Clara Peterloo.
Thank you. Well, I do know a lot about this issue. The federal government has this rhetoric about how important small businesses is, but yet they implement these programs that hurt small businesses. Exactly what Cass said. Employers now have to, business owners have to now think: do I hire people to figure out what inventory, GST, not to mention all the bookkeeping hours that are spent. This is killing small businesses, all right? It was bad enough COVID, all the small businesses had to close their doors while international and multinational corporations got to stay open. What an assault on small business. Canadian and federal government should be ashamed of yourselves for what you have done to small business in this country and in this community. So, the People's Party of Canada, we would end like the overregulation, the red tape, the endless litany of paperwork and boxes and things that need to be checked off to be able to do our business in the first place. Enough already. We're able to make our own decisions and do what's best for our businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clara Peterloo, with the People's Party. We are going to a written question. It is for Christian Heritage Party. So, Mark Slingerland. Canada has fallen behind in economic growth compared to peer nations. What specific policies would your party implement to improve Canada's tax competitiveness, reduce red tape, and drive investment in Canada?
Great question. Red tape has been mentioned here a few times already. Tax competitiveness, how about a radical one? Do away with income tax. Where does this idea come from that the first claim on your income, from whatever source that is, should be the government taking a cut off the top? That is unjust. We would propose doing away with the income tax, replacing it with a consumption tax. Economists, there's some details that need to be worked out, a prebate for low-income families and so on, but economists are agreed that this is by far the fairest way of taxation, and it would put you in control. If you want to buy a Ferrari, you recognize that the government is going to get a nice cut of that. If you don't want the government to get so many dollars, you can choose a budget model, and you have complete control. But the money is in your pocket first, and you decide where it goes. The government does not deserve your hard-earned income as the first priority with those dollars.
Thank you very much, Mark Slingerland with the Christian Heritage Party. We're going to our final media question, which is Justin Sibbett with Global News.
Thank you. My question is for Nathan. So in a previous interview, you had said to me that you are not running for yourself, but you're running for the future of Lethbridge. What is that future?
Absolutely. So Lethbridge is a beautifully diverse community, and I feel we are united in a lot of shared values. And I feel as being an advocate for our community, and now an advocate as in a political setting for our community, right? We need to address affordability by permanently eliminating GST on essentials like home heating, groceries. We need to completely eliminate income tax on the first $20,000 people make. These are the kind of tax breaks that help the working class people, not billionaires. We need to accurately address the opioid crisis in our town. We need to come at it with a perspective of supporting genuine recovery, not just sobriety, that people can actively be involved in our community again. We need to keep our elbows up, look at the administration down south, and tell them that we are Canadian, we will always be Canadian, and we need to be able to support Canadians during that time.
Thank you very much, Nathan Swoboda, New Democratic Party of Canada. I think we have time for one more question. It is an audience question. It is this microphone here, Stephen.
Hi, I have a question for Chris. And what are ways we can combat those tariffs from Donald Trump in the States, and how can we make the economy even better in Canada? I know that in Canada, we're one of the best economies in G7.
Okay. How can we combat the tariffs? I think the most effective way to do that is we cannot rely on Donald Trump. We have to develop alternative markets for our products. Not going to be easy, not going to happen in the near future, but we need to provide the supports in the meantime. But we have to aggressively pursue alternative markets for our products. So, but there's a need for Canadian food. We need to reach out to other countries. Primarily in this area, our prime markets would be Asia. But we have to look at markets. Certainly we need to go to Japan, but we need to look at places like the Philippines and other opportunities. Countries with high populations, high food needs, we need to work with them, develop alternative markets so that we're not so reliant on the U.S. And in the meantime, we have to, when the U.S. penalizes us, we have to fight back.
Chris, thank you for your anti-Trump stance.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris. Rachel, Nathan, were you doing your? Okay. I thought I saw you first. So as quick a 1 minute as you can, and then we'll do Rachel.
Absolutely. So protecting Canadians during the economic crisis we're going to face, we've relied on the United States for a long time, and we've enjoyed that relationship. That relationship is showing to not be there anymore. And ultimately, we do need to look at other markets. But I feel it's important to acknowledge that we need to support workers through this and open up those corridors across the country. That means getting oil to the East Coast to be able to give to the EU. That means getting food and our agriculture to Asia. But what that means more is that we need to not continually use back-to-work legislation like the Liberals have to take the rights away from the working class people of port workers, rail workers, and our postal workers.
Thank you very much, Nathan Swoboda. Rachel Thomas, do you want to play your final?
May I?
Yes.
When it comes to the tariffs, I think we have to remember a couple of things here. Long before Trump came onto the scene, people were struggling with being able to afford their rent, their mortgage payments, their groceries, the fuel for their vehicles, their home heating, etc. Our food lineups at food banks are over 2 million people long in the course of 1 month on average last year. That's atrocious. And that's not because of Trump's tariffs. That's because of Liberal mismanagement for 10 years. There are many things that can be done, but here are 2 immediate ones. We have a superpower in energy. Let's get it to market. And we have market that wants it. France has asked for it. Germany has asked for it. South Korea, Japan, and India would love to enter into an agreement with regards to our LNG. And if we do that, we are not only advancing our country economically and providing great paying jobs, but we're actually looking after the environment as well, because instead of taking dirty dictator oil, we're taking clean environmental oil.
Thank you very much. Chris, it was your question. 30 seconds, Chris. It was your question. Go ahead, really quick.
So, two quick points. One to Nathan, with all respect. The most important thing, the biggest issue we have with attracting foreign markets is reliability of supply. And we can't have our product going to the coast and being held up with long, lengthy strikes. We need to build a better relationship with workers, but reliability is key. And I think that's important, and I think recognize too, in terms of getting product to market, Liberals are the only ones that built a pipeline.
All right, thank you. You still had one? Where did you get that? Okay, can you do really quick, because we got to get to closing remarks.
It's interesting that the Liberals would lay claim to a pipeline that they were forced to purchase because they refused to give approvals to the private company that wanted to spend their money to build it. Make no mistake, folks, under the Liberals, Canada is closed to business. They have forced investment out of our country to the tune of $500 billion year over year during their time in government. A Conservative government will attract that investment back by making Canada a good place to do business, by reducing red tape, by reducing taxes, and providing a great workforce. That's the type of economy that you deserve as Canadians, and that's the type of economy that we'll deliver.
All right. Thank you very much, candidates, audience, and media panel. That is our question and answer period. We're now going to hear closing remarks from our candidates. We are going in reverse alphabetical order. So that means we'll start at the very end. Rachel Thomas with the Conservative Party of Canada. 2 minutes for your closing remarks, please.
Well, thank you so much. Today, Liberals are trying to trick Canadians into electing them into a fourth term of power. They've swapped out their leader, but they've kept the same cabinet ministers and the same MPs that voted to hike the carbon tax, double housing costs, and make life unaffordable. These are the same Liberals who supported blocking pipelines and LNG plants, and the same Liberals who passed the anti-energy bill C-69, which is preventing us from getting our commodity to market and killing jobs. Mr. Carney has hid the carbon tax for a short 2-month term, but he's promised that he'll bring it back in, quote, a shadow carbon tax, which will be applied to industry and then enforced on you. It will cost Canadians severely. As President Trump's tariffs threaten our industries and our sovereignty, we will fight, Conservatives will fight, for our workers to ensure that Canada remains independent and self-reliant, because that is in our control. We will facilitate economic prosperity across all regions by axing the carbon tax for good and for everyone. We will make home ownership possible once again. We will strengthen the economy and create jobs. We will restore safety, law, and order. We will secure our borders, and we will strengthen our immigration system. We will rebuild our military, and we will defend our sovereignty, because these are the first and foremost responsibilities of a responsible government. A Conservative government will restore the Canadian promise, a promise that says through hard work and perseverance, anyone can succeed, no matter their background. We will rebuild an economy where paychecks go further, where families can afford homes, and where communities are once again safe. This election is a turning point, folks. It is the most important in a generation, and it's time to put Canada first. It's time for a Conservative government. On April 28th, I humbly ask for your support.
All right. Thank you very much. That is Rachel Thomas with the Conservative Party of Canada. That will take us to Nathan Swoboda with the New Democratic Party of Canada. Closing remarks, 2 minutes.
Absolutely. I want to look out at my community here, and I need to say that we know our value and we know what we deserve. And we don't need to settle for conservative cuts and we don't need to settle for this inauthentic token gestures from the Liberal Party. New Democrats, we don't just talk. We fight, and we've been fighting in every position we've been in for you. We got dental care through. We got pharmacare through. We passed anti-scab legislation, and we did that work with genuine cooperation with other parties, which is what you want your candidate, your MP, to do. You want them to advocate for you no matter the position they're in, and that's what I'm committed to doing.
Thank you very much, Nathan Svoboda, on behalf of the New Democratic Party of Canada. That will take us to Chris Spearman for the Liberal Party of Canada. Your final closing remarks, 2 minutes.
Well, thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum, and to everyone here tonight for taking an interest in our community. I came out of retirement to run for Parliament because I'm deeply concerned about the growing threats to democracy in Canada and in Alberta. We don't want to see the kind of division and hostility we see elsewhere take root here. Over my 26 years of public service, I've always stayed connected, serving on chamber committees, supporting local organizations, and showing up for Lethbridge. That connection helped me speak up on issues that matter, like the threat of coal mining on the eastern slopes and the risks it poses to our economy and clean water. I'm proud of what we've achieved together, but I believe there's more work to do. For the past decade, our MP has served in opposition. I respect anyone who puts their name forward, but I believe Lethbridge needs a representative who can work directly with government to deliver results. All signs suggest that Mark Carney and the Liberal Party will form the government after April 28th. So voters have a choice. Do we want a strong voice inside government, or one left on the sidelines? I'm ready to serve again and make sure that the people, businesses, and organizations of Lethbridge are heard in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris Spearman for the Liberal Party of Canada. That's Mark Slingerland now, Christian Heritage Party. Mark, your final closing remarks.
Thank you to the Chamber for hosting. Thank you all for being here. And thank you to my fellow candidates for putting your names forward. We have heard a variety of views this evening. That is the gift of democracy, a gift that has been bought at great price and is never to be taken for granted. We all have things we can agree on. We all want a better Canada, though we may disagree on the right path to take to get there. Ms. Thomas has been a great constituency MP. I'm proud to be represented by her. I have a lot of things in common with her policies. We have to recognize that her party is aiming for seats in Quebec and the Toronto suburbs, and their priorities are not the priorities of Western Canadians. So there are certain issues they will not touch. Too many of their campaign promises are about what government will do. You know as well as I do that it's not government's job to solve our problems. The government needs to do its own necessary but limited role well and free citizens, businesses, and nonprofits to meet local needs and create value. I'm confident that if re-elected, MP Thomas will continue to be a great advocate for our region. The best thing you can do to arm her for that task is to vote CHP. Last election, and in the last number of elections here, she was more than 20,000 votes ahead of the second place candidate. That's 20,000 wasted votes. 10,000 of them coming to the CHP would still leave her with a comfortable margin and give her incredible ammunition to advocate publicly and within her Conservative caucus for a small and effective government that defends our freedoms, for policies that recognize families as the foundation of society, and for the value of every human life. This election, don't waste your vote. Don't vote in fear. Vote for the CHP and have your vote count in defense of a Canada we can be proud of. Thank you.
What Mark said.
Thank you very much, Mark Slingerland, Christian Heritage Party. Strategy, not just policy. Okay, that will take us to Clara Peterloo with the People's Party of Canada. Clara, 2 minutes for closing remarks.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight and for your support in the democratic process. Voting for the People's Party of Canada is the way to go if you want to end the authoritative reach of the federal government into your lives. We have had enough with their crisis safeguards that will actually put Albertan ranchers at risk. We've had enough with Bill C-47, which removes our bodily autonomy to decide how we are going to care for our own bodies. We've had enough with vaccinations and forced vaccinations, being told what we can and cannot do. Okay? It's time to take our power back, and a vote for the PPC is just that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Clara Peterloo, for the People's Party of Canada. Last but not least, Amber Murray with the Green Party of Canada. 2 minutes for closing remarks.
I'd like to thank the Chamber and to all of you for coming today and participating and listening and hearing all of our platforms and where we're all coming from. I'm kind of surprised that we have talked so much this evening about tax cuts. There is a responsibility that we have as a wealthy nation to take care of those that are less fortunate than us. Currently, 20% of Canadians hold more than 2/3 of the country's wealth, and more than 33% of Canadians earn less than $40,000 a year. A year. And taxes start at just under $16,000. So when you're talking about cutting taxes, you're talking about looking a lot more like the States, which right now is in the biggest disarray they've seen in hundreds of years. We're talking about US households that make 10% of them make over $250,000 a year and account for half of US consumer spending. How is that equitable? We really do have a place to take care of the less fortunate and our environment, or we won't have anything to take care of.
All right. Thank you very much, Amber Murray, for the Green Party of Canada. That is it for the closing remarks and concludes most of our forum. We are so pleased, so grateful that you have taken the time to listen to the candidates here tonight as they respond to important questions. Truly, we hope that this helps you when you go to the polls to vote. And I would remind you to make sure that you do vote on April 28th or in one of the early voting opportunities that will be available. Thank you all so much for being here tonight and listening respectfully to the candidates. I'd like to extend a most sincere thank you to our media panel. They bring the substance to these events. They do it with respect and class. We're so grateful to have them here. Yeah, give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you also to Rogers Media, which is recording this for rebroadcast, so you can catch that later on. We'd like to thank Runner Soul for the donation of the time clock, which has been as much a fixture of these debates as myself, maybe more. A big thank you is also in order to the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce volunteers and staff. A lot goes into events like this, and our CEO, Cindy Crane, and her great team make it look effortless, so thank you very much. Thank you, heartfelt thank you to the candidates for being here tonight, for introducing yourselves, for speaking to your party's positions, and for addressing some challenging questions. It's no small or easy thing to put yourself forward as a candidate for political office, and it seems to get more difficult as times change, social media grows, and our political atmosphere seems to become more charged than ever. So you make yourself a target, but we're so happy that you put yourself out there. It's what makes democracy move forward. So a round of applause for them. And with that, we'll conclude our program. On behalf of the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce, I am Stephen Mogden, and asking you to be kind to one another, do your research, be an informed and rational voter, and make sure your voice is heard at the ballot box on April 28th. Thank you all, and good evening.